When SAP Miller launched its Hansa Vuyo ads, little did it realize that one man would turn the fiction into a reality. This is Tonight. I'm Bruce Whitfield. Tonight I'm talking to Miles Kubheka, who decided to turn the Vuyo's brand into his own version of success. Just in case you've been on another planet or in a different country and you don't remember the Hansa ads, have a look at this.
Ooh, Vuyo is such a big dreamer.
She started off with one room
And
now
He's an Afrikaanse businessman.
has become an overnight sensation.
He's on TV all the time.
Like a beautiful burgos roll.
Made famous by Vuyo!
Nobody dreams ordinary, so I drink ordinary beer.
He never forgets his roots.
Hello? Can you hear me? Olá, people, você é
That's what makes him our boy. Step out of the ordinary. Hansa, refreshingly different.
How's it, guys? So how many of you remember the advert? Oh, and how many of you thought Vuyo actually existed? So, it turns out, I, like you, saw the advert, right? And I thought this was based on a true story. I thought Vuyo existed, right? So I Googled to find out that no, he didn't exist. It was a figment of an imagination of some guys, some creative guys in an ad agency in Cape Town. I think they came up with the character after smoking some green stuff that shall not be named. And effectively, there was no Vuyo. So I thought to myself, if there's no Vuyo, why not I just trademark this thing and become Vuyo? And quite honestly, from that day, after trademarking that brand, I became Vuyo. Sadly enough, even my mom now calls me Vuyo. But you know what the funny thing is? Like you, everybody saw the same advert. Some people did go as far as Google to find out there was no real character. And others, even when they come to my restaurant to shake my hand, they say, hey, good, I saw the same ad. I wanted to do something about it. But the difference between I and myself and themselves is that I actually did something about it. That's the only difference. Now, if it was one of the most important lessons I can impart upon you, because you hopefully going to get into the big bad world out there, is that if you ever want to achieve anything, I don't care how great your dream is, but if you don't wake up from the dream and actually do, it's not going to happen. So lesson one I've learned is that if you don't, and in fact, I often ask myself, why did I do something about it? Because clearly a lot of people didn't, right? And thinking about it, because I kept on being asked this question a lot of times, the only person I can blame for this is my mother. Because as long as I could remember, my mother has always said to me, don't be an also-ran in life. So if 6,000 people run the marathon, 5,999 of them serve to legitimize the winner. So she always said to me, go out and change the world, stand for something. And I remember thinking to myself, lay off me, woman, I'm only 3 years old. But I think it is that sense of purpose that has led me to do something about it. So, born and bred in Soweto, went to school at Wits across the pond, and studied information systems, and don't ask me what I'm doing in food. I actually think everybody at some point in their lifetime must try a different field. And in fact, the best food people turn out to be engineers, funny enough, for whatever reason. But it's almost a wish for me, for you, that you all try out something new. You go out and you start this and go down this journey, but at some point, try something different. You'll be surprised as to how you can stretch yourself. So, coming back to my story. Now that I've trademarked the brand, oh, you can't see these slides, eh? Yeah. Shall I leave it like this? Yes. The slides are more important than me. And besides, you can't miss me. No. So how it started. So we started from the bottom and we're still here. Often entrepreneurs come up to me and they say, but I've got a great idea and I want to start this business, but you need capital, you need government backing, you need this, you need that, it becomes a whining session. But the truth of the matter is you don't need any of that. You need the will and the passion. So I started our business with a food store. Other than the brand, as you can see, the only thing we paid for there was the trestle table. It was 600 rands at the local Fourways for his farmer's market. They charged us 600 rands for the weekend, and they gave us a table, nothing else. We bought that grill that day, and we chucked some boeries. We knew what we wanted to do. We wanted to put some awesome chakalaka that my mother's famous for on the boerie, and we came up with some recipes. But honestly, all we did is we just started. So we got this trestle table. It's made out of wood. The shade netting at the top there is made out of plastic. The canvas is plastic. The floor's got wood chips, and we're cooking with fire. Guys, you're hospitality students. You can see where this is going, right? But luckily, we went that down. So we put a concrete slab between the grill and the trestle table. Only problem is, the one weekend, our 4th or 5th weekend running, Peter, the guy you saw in the picture, turns around to me and says, "Hey, Miles, we're on fire." I go, "I know, look at the crowd." He goes, no, we're on fire. Turns out the table was actually burning because he forgot to put the concrete slab. Now, second lesson in being an entrepreneur, you find Jesus very fast. Because I can't tell you for the life of me why we didn't burn down that market. I could see the headlines, Vuyo burns down for his farmer's market. But we didn't. I don't know why. Because no fire extinguisher, nothing. There's literally no explicable reason as to why we didn't do it. But as an entrepreneur, you'll find out very quickly what it means. And most of you are either going to work for corporates, restaurants, and what, but at some point you may want to start your own business. So if you're ever wondering what it feels like, let me give you a hint.
We shouldn't be up here, Drag.
Who's ready to fly?
Me, like a superhero.
Better, like a vampire.
I don't know about this. He's half human. Maybe the kid isn't supposed to fly.
Quiet. This is how they learn. You throw them and they figure it out. It's how I was taught.
I want to fly now.
The bat. You know Grandpa's right here if you need it.
I can't watch this.
Please don't. Here we go!
He's still not flying.
He will.
Still not.
It'll happen.
This is a tall tower.
That's why it's good.
You should get him. Drag!
I did that my first time.
He's getting too close to the ground.
You know what? He's not gonna fly.
Again!
We're gonna need more time. Uh-oh.
I think I've seen this video over 1,000 times now. But every time it gets me, because that's how it feels to be an entrepreneur, right? The first thing you do is you jump in the belief that your business is going to succeed. And halfway, all the way down, in fact, you're screaming. You're hoping that someone out there is going to hear your cries and come in and help you out. But often, you land with a crack. And I can tell you that to be a fact. Most entrepreneurs will fail. It's not necessarily a bad thing because it's got negative hype to it. There's a negative stigma to failing. But you learn a lot from failure. Failure is actually probably one of the best teachers you can find out there. But if you can do it without failure, great. You know, why hit the ground when you can miss it? And then you saw the middle part there is the guy running out and everybody chasing him trying to put out the fire. That's 3/4 of what I do. We're busy with a restaurant right now. I can tell you, I'm thinking 16 things right now and they're all fire related in terms of having to sort out the issues, right? That's all you do. And I guess you guys are going to get the best lessons because if you're in the kitchen, you understand the pressure of getting a meal out. And in fact, running a restaurant is one of the hardest things if you were to ask me. Coming from IT, one of the quick things you figure out is that in the food business, or particularly the restaurant business, it's the only industry in the world where a customer comes in, you greet them, they place an order, you serve them. Okay. A customer comes in, they request for your menu, you serve them, or they place the order, you serve them. They eat, they pay, and they leave. Can you see how many points of failures there are there? Can you see how many things can go wrong there? Right? Most industries, the product is already done. When the customer comes in, you give them, they pay, bye-bye. Food. The chef has a bad day. The food will the customer will taste it in the food. There's no electricity, can't serve the food. There's no water, you can't. Can you see how many of these things? So you gotta have the chops, no pun intended, to do this. And then the last part, where the kids are running out with the marshmallows, that's month end. That's how my month end feels. When all my staff members are running after me, looking for their salaries, it's month end. And that's effectively what you do in this kind of business, right? Cool, so we didn't start our business to end up at the local Fourways Farmers Market. It was great, but we had big, big dreams, right? We wanted to change the world, right? So I found the most amazing site, opposite Wits University. Having gone to Wits University, I should have known better. But I found what I thought was the most amazing site. And I remember approaching the landlord saying, oh, I'd like to take this site. They said, no, you're an unknown brand, you're untested, and so on. I'm like, dude, you just don't know it yet. We're a multinational. You just don't get it. And then he says, no. Ultimately, we ended up having to give him our DNA and all other specimens for him to give us the site. And actually 3 months worth of rent in advance, okay? Now, you work it out. We were paying about 50,000 rands a month, so it's 150 grand just for a ticket to play. That 150, you see it, but you can't touch it because it's in a trust account. Can you imagine what you can do with 150 grand when you're starting a restaurant? That's a kitchen, right? So, we eventually got the site though. I was so excited. In fact, what we did was, having an IT background, everything to me is binary, so it's zeros and ones. And so we launched our restaurant on the 12th of the 12th of the 12th, which I thought was a great omen. And on the 26th of December, it was our big fanfare launch, inviting customers. But I wanted to say hello world, and I wanted to say, you know, get the world to know we've arrived. I mean, Vuyo, the big dreamer, is actually here. So I wanted to get 4 snow machines. In fact, I just wanted 2. Try getting snow machines in December on the 24th. No one is around, right? But eventually managed to get it. And I ultimately got 4 snow machines, and we made it snow on the 26th, on the launch day. It was stunning, you know, it was snowing outside, and people were eating boinkies and dumpling, and it was just too perfect for words, right? And quite excited, the restaurant is full. Then the next day, not a single customer. I mean, the tables were lily white, almost like corporate South Africa. And I was like, oi, what have I done? So I decided to myself, listen, it's not what I signed up for. You know, I thought we'd be buzzing. So I decided to write to call the Sunday Times, and I said, listen, oh, that's distracting, the camera. I called the Sunday Times, and I said, listen, would you be interested in hearing about how we made it snow in the middle of an African summer, right? They weren't very interested, to be honest with you. So I did one next logical step, sitting there doing nothing else. I have no customers. So I decided to write the article for the for the Sunday Times. I wrote it, I typefaced it, I PDF'd it, put the picture, emailed it to the guys. The journalist called me about half an hour later with a bit of a smirk in his voice, asked me a few more questions. At this point, I'm thinking maybe we'll make it to page 189 of the Sunday Times, right? And it's a thin one in that time of the year, right? On Sunday, that Sunday, I get woken up by a call from Robbie Brosen, the founder of Nando's, and he says to me, listen, but you're on the front page of the Sunday Times. What are you talking about? It's 4th day in the running of our restaurant, we're on the front page of the Sunday Times. Lesson number 3 that I learned there was that typically journalists write all the negative stories because the negative stories get to good stories don't arrive. No one takes the effort that I did to write the story and land it on his lap. That was an amazing lesson, and that lesson I hope you take today and run with it, because the amount of PR, and I'll show you just now in the next slide, that single task that I did, you can't buy it. It's invaluable. Then the 4th lesson I learned is that little, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little bullet point. That's the actual work the journalist did actually do. That corner there at the bottom. He called the SAB and said, listen, there's this oak who's got a store and he's trademarked your brand. Do you know anything about him, and what do you think? At this point, I had never bothered to ask the SAB what they thought. I read it the first time on the Sunday Times like everybody else. And SAB said, well, if he's He's that brave and he's an entrepreneur. Good on him and good luck to him. That's the first time. All this time I was worried they were going to come with a baseball bat and beat me up. So lesson number 4 that I picked up there is that in life it's often better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. So I live by that. I try and impart that from my staff members. And in fact, there's a classic example. One of my guys, I was doing a talk like this, and in the Q&A session, one of the guests put up their hand and said, I was at one of your food trucks the other day. When someone says that, whether you're on a radio interview or something, you start sweating bullets because there can be so many variables that you don't know if he's going to compliment, it's going to, it can go anyway. So he says, I was at your truck the other day, and I must be honest, your buris looked so good, I couldn't decide which one I wanted. So your chef decides that he's going to serve me all 3. So he made me my custom buri. He made all 3 into one. Now, we don't teach that. But my guy felt so empowered to make that decision. And that's the kind of people you want to work with. Guys who, because I would rather have that problem than not. Happy customer, guy took initiative, he didn't have to go to the back and ask for permission, he did it. So that level of, that spirit of enthusiasm and entrepreneurship is crucial. So as I was saying, the PR we've received, we've been on TV shows, radio shows, we've met people like Sir Richard Branson, Sir Richard to you, Rich to me. In fact, he wanted to invest in our business. We did a lot of due diligence over a 3 or 4 month period, and eventually I turned them down because one of my favorite brands, Nando's, is a global South African brand that's done amazing things globally, and they sell Portuguese chicken. We want to be the first South African restaurant run by South Africans selling South African food. We want to make South Africans proud of their culture and cuisine, because if we can get South Africans proud of their cuisine, the rest of the world will just follow and love us like we already love our own cuisine. It bothers me that 21 years into our democracy, we line up for 3, 5, 6 months outside a Burger King when it arrives in the country, or a Krispy Kreme. How is it that we don't have a globally profound brand that's Pan-African, that people can identify with and say, this is ours? This is our mission as Vuyos. This is what we do. So, speaking about what we do, our food. And that's not even how it really looks. The projector doesn't do it justice, right? Normally I bring the food truck with me. Not my fault. I wanted to bring it, right? So we do gourmet burger rolls on the food trucks, but we do a very varied menu on our bricks and mortar stores, on our restaurants, and I'll talk a little bit about that. This won an award for in the Sawubona magazine, and in fact, you're probably the first guys to know this. We've just been appointed or awarded with we are going to represent South Africa in the Wall Street Food Congress in the Philippines, and we're taking the potjie to present it as the national dish for South Africa. So it's quite cool. Thank you. Quite excited about that. And we send it in those 3-foot pots, So it's like the whole experience thing. I don't know how I'm going to get those through the security at the airport. We'll figure it out. So, our customer. So you've seen these guys at Tasha's, right? Awesome restaurant, Tasha. I know her personally, great lady. And she's managed to do an awesome restaurant concept. She's raised the bar. But 75% of Tasha's customer base is black, right? Look around. Then you think to yourself, okay. And I've spent a lot of time trying to figure this out. And the truth is, it's a number of things. One, people like to be seen, and they like to see. So a very nice environment will always attract a customer base. 2, good food. In fact, probably food is most important, but you'd be surprised how the experience adds to the whole equation. But good food is a very, very important thing. But thirdly, consistent food. It's no point in being good the last time you were there, and it's not good this time you are here, right? But what I found was that these same guys are here every weekend. They're at their mother's house, shouting their mother's food because their spouses couldn't cook to save their lives. But they are there because they miss the cuisine they grew up eating. No one has bothered to give them that cuisine in a similar environment as Atasha's. Atasha's or all the other restaurants will give you, if it ain't broke, why fix it, basically. They'll give you the same Eurofusion stuff you've been taught because everybody eats it, but no one has bothered to say, why do people eat it? My thinking around this is people eat what they serve because that's the only option they've been given. If I could give you mukhodu in an environment similar to that of Tasha's, clean and clean, you'd be eating that. You're not eating it because no one has bothered to give it to you. No one has put it in a similar environment, right? So is it not time that 21 years or 22 years into our democracy that we elevate our own cuisine? Have you ever wondered why Japanese food is served in a similar fashion everywhere in the world you go? There's always going to be the wasabi, the ginger, and so forth. The Japanese government spends over $250 billion lobbying UNESCO to make sure that their cuisine globally is treated as a cultural heritage. So it's not an accident that you eat Japanese food the way you eat it. The French are even better. You've been taught your basic cooking skills is based on French methodologies, right? So they get you on day one, the French. The Italians, clever. They just decide, well, we're going to make our food so relevant. We're going to give you the ability to put whatever you want on it, the pizza. But guess what it is? It's Italian. Chinese, worst culprits. I make it sound negative. The Chinese, I heard a scary statistic the other day that black Americans eat over black Americans they eat so much Chinese food that it contributes over $250 billion, again ironically, $250 billion into the Chinese economy. Now, imagine if we could get those oaks, just those guys, eating African cuisine. Let's even park there, right? They're far, right? The continent has got 1 billion people, right? We've got 1 billion people that we could serve our cuisine. Most of those billions of people are already in the SADC and they're already eating our food, whether they're from Botswana, Zambia, and so forth, right? We all have the same palate. So our journey is to make sure that people enjoy South African food. So my journey up till now has been amazing. It's been fun. I mean, we're doing big events, and the other day I'm dressed in Vuyo's gear, as you can see. These two blonde girls run up to me. They go, "Are you Vuyo?" I go, "Yeah." And they go, "Will you autograph our boobs?" I was like, "Yeah, a rock star." So up till now I'm having fun, but I'm not changing the world like I set out to do, right? And so after I got abreast of that situation, I saw the statistic that 50% of the youth in this country are unemployed, 60% of which are women, and only 10% of all school leavers will find a job. So now this is typically a very sad statistic. But for us, I thought, or for me personally, I thought, wow, this is an amazing opportunity. I live in a country where I've got a wealth of natural resources. It's not bad enough that we've got gold, platinum, and so forth. Now we also have people and young people. So how do I augment my business model to exploit? And I use the word exploit because I'm not a bunny hugger, I'm not an altruist, I'm not doing this for my health. I'm a big, big dreamer, I gotta pay for a yacht, right? So how do I make my business augment or cater or utilize this natural resource that's clearly in abundance? And this is what we came up with. After studying a lot of franchises and the actual franchising business model, you quickly discover that the franchising business model actually disenfranchises the same people it's meant to enfranchise. So if a KFC costs $6 million, 3 million of which you must have in cash, must be unencumbered, and you can't technically buy one KFC. On average, you have to buy 6. Okay? So now those oaks that I showed you on the slide before, no one's got 3 million rands under their mattress. But if anybody here in this room has got 3 bar under their mattress, I can meet you outside. We are looking for franchisees. But quite honestly, typically no one has this money. So what that does is that it disenfranchises the people it's supposed to empower, so the guys stay outside and the people in the inside just get more and more franchises. So how do we change that? We took the lesson from the Greeks. If you are ever confused, go back to the Greeks. The Greeks, well, when I was growing up, they owned all the corner cafes. Now they own most of the shopping centers. That's not a bad going from a return on equity over a 21-year period. It does show you that you can start small and over a period of time grow things into things like shopping centers. But the problem is that we have the problem now. The youth is unemployed now. We don't have the luxury of 20, 21 years. So how do we fix that? So typically, due to the media coverage and the talks I do, I get a lot of requests. Like this chap here, he sent us an email saying, listen, I heard you on the radio. I'm selling burgers at a school. I want to be part of Vuyo's. You can't really see him. He's a bit dark. He's from Limpopo, but he's there. He's there, I can assure you. So what we interview for, to be honest with you, is attitude. It's so weird. You know, you run a food business. On average, I realize at 5 o'clock that I haven't eaten food. It's weird. I sell food, but you don't eat, so I can eat it now. Anyway, so we typically interview for attitude because the rest we can teach. And let's be honest, our business is not nuclear physics, right? Putting meat on a grill, and you cook it, okay? So, but attitude you can't teach. You can't teach attitude. A bad attitude lands us up at CCMA, I can guarantee it. Right? And the guy be sitting there across from you says, hey, I want 3 months salary. But dude, I caught you stealing meat. You with me, right? Okay. So we bring him in. After some training, we ran this pilot with Spa. And before you know it, the guy is doing 60,000 rands a month. Yeah. Right? 60 grand a month. So, as Vuyos, what we do is we turn Vuyopreneurs into Vuyonaires. I've got lots of those Vuyorisms, you'll see. So, coming back to my store in Braamfontein, lesson 7 or 8, I'm not sure what number I'm on, but have you ever wondered why they say location, location, location 3 times? They never say it once. It's always location, location, location. I never understood that until I started running my own business. Right, because why would I? When I went to find a site in Braamfontein, I went during lunchtime, logically. So during lunch, there was tons of people walking past the shop. I thought, we were going to print money here. In fact, Robbie Brosen calls the cash register the Jewish piano. I thought we were going to play Mozart on our pianos, right? And when we opened, we discovered 3 things. In Braamfontein, there's typically no breakfast run. People are coming out of public transport, they're late for work. Okay? Lunchtime was actually doing very well. In fact, it kept us afloat. It kept us, we're breaking even based on our lunchtime trade. But there was no dinner trade. Now try running a business with just one trade. And it doesn't matter what business it is. If you're going to sell clothes, whatever, try and make sure you have a minimum of 2 trades. Okay? So, running it with one trade wasn't going to work. Then we discovered very quickly that, who knew? Students drink their money, they don't eat it. And then, as if that's not bad enough, let's close this for 4 months of the year, 5 if you include strikes. So I'm always behind the 8 ball, I'm not catching up. So one time I see this truck on the side of the road. I think to myself, well, if they're not going to come to me, I'm going to go to them. And that's how we started our journey with the food truck. And one last point I forgot to mention. Eskom then starts adding another flavor to the mix. They start giving us load shedding. So you can't trade when you don't have electricity at the time. So things were not going great. I was being clapped 4 ways by all these things that I didn't bargain for. Then when I saw this truck that we started and we branded and we started doing corporate gigs, it was some college innovations. For us, it was a survival thing. It's like, if they're not going to come to us, we're going to go to them. So we started building this truck and we, branded it Vuyo's, and before you knew it, we started getting these corporate requests. And you know the nice thing about a food truck? If business is bad, you drive off to the next site. And when you're doing corporate events, they pay you in advance. Right? So now all of a sudden I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, okay, those guys standing outside selling those burries, they're doing it at 60 grand, and at the bricks and mortar store, we're struggling because of electricity or all these issues. This thing, I'm getting paid in advance, and it's working, right? And one gig is 10 grand, just one. If I do 3 in a day, I'm doing 30 grand. You do the numbers, right? All of a sudden, here's a business model. We weren't looking for it, but it kind of found us because we always had our eyes open. So we started doing big events, concerts and stuff. We did the Pharrell concert. In fact, it did the Happy Song into Vuyo. I haven't loaded it here, but we do. We've got the Vuyo. The Happy Song is the Vuyo song because Vuyo stands for, what does Vuyo mean? Hello? I'm not kidding. Then I started an association of food trucks because one of the things we're finding that is a challenge, people didn't understand what food trucks is. So in order to educate them when you do big sporting events, that way we could get all the food trucks standing in one place. So the mother truckers, as you can see, the trucks on that side, they average about 800K, 600, a million rand truck. Ours, that one over there, costs us 150 grand. It's the cheapest truck there. By far. Look at our queue. When was the last time you saw black people in a straight line? No. Elections don't count. Voting doesn't count. These guys are standing in a queue, right, to buy a 45 rand burrito. So it's not because it's cheap. One. Do you know how hard I've had to work to convince people that a burrito roll is not 20 rands? Do you know what a mind shift that is? Okay, they're buying a 45 rand burrito roll, but you know what the cool thing is? On average, they're buying 4. Because you don't stand in a queue that long to get to the front and say, yeah, please have one. They're buying on average 4 with fries at 65 bucks. So my product is not the cheapest product there. Actually, it's got the most margin, but not the cheapest. And it's got the longest queue. Now you could argue it's great brand, great food, great experience. It's a combination of factors. But if I were to give you, because I'm talking to hospitality students, there's good queues and bad queues. 15, 20 is a good queue. I often tell my guys, when you're running 15, 20, you slow it down. We want to keep a queue for 15 people. No one goes to an empty restaurant or an empty truck. Okay, it doesn't happen. So 15 is good. But after 15, 20, you start getting drop-offs. So pick it up, but keep the queue. Right? Remember that. So we take these old VW combis and we convert them to these things. The downside of these things is that they are old. They are old VW combis. What does that mean? It means they break. They break even when they're standing still. In fact, they're in a perpetual state of breaking, I'd like to say. So,
Give it to me. What is the next big thing?
Check it out.
Vuyo sees things that other people can't.
He's as big as his dreams.
All over the internet, millions of hits.
Clearly, the people he put money into it.
While all of us were thinking, he was already doing all over the world.
Where this young man gets his inspiration, I have no idea.
well, I'm proud to unveil. We've partnered with the Isuzu trucks. We're busy building these huge food trucks. They can drive, they don't break, and they can go great distances. Because we're getting to a stage where we are keen to now franchise our business model and empower the same people I spoke about earlier. But you don't empower people and give them substandard equipment, right? Largely because it's a headache for me, but more importantly, you want to give people a sense of pride. with those carts, what we discovered very quickly is that because my initial program was, if someone has got a great attitude, we should empower them with the cart. The problem is that people don't value something that they don't have skin in the game in. It's the weirdest thing. Here it is, free, put, run, go cook and forth and prosper. But before you know it, the cart is breaking because it's not his. There's no level of ownership. Or he didn't put something towards it. So, but I'm excited about our new food trucks. You should be seeing them on the roads very soon. Our first one is coming out of the production line as we speak. Should be ready by a month end, actually. I was there yesterday, so it's quite cool. Here's another cool thing that we are working on.
One of the things that makes us truly South African is our great chow. From Mama Papa to Braai Vleis, Popoti, Milton, Umngoshu, and everything in between. Hello Mzansi, I'm Vuyo, and I'm scouring our beautiful land looking for your favorite South African recipes. So share your favorite South African recipe with me and stand a chance of becoming part of South Africa's cuisine legacy. For more information, log on to vuyos.co.za or find us on Facebook.
Vuyo's Truly South African Chow is a television series that gets to the heart of South African cuisine. A series that showcases South Africans sharing their favorite recipes with Vuyo, who is on a quest to discover what makes South African cuisine uniquely homegrown. Follow Vuyo as he journeys across our beautiful country, meeting with a diverse cross-section of people who wants to share their story and South African recipes with him. We'll discover who these people are, where they live, why they have chosen to share their recipes, and what makes their food uniquely South African. We discover their secrets as to where to buy the best food products for the recipe at hand, the ingredients that are needed, what to look out for, and what to avoid. We spend time with Vuyo and the person is visiting in their home, in their kitchen. Here, we learn the secrets of the trade that makes their recipe unique.
Can you see that? That's the trick of it. Then that will make a peeler stew.
Just drop the bread and the milk into the, that's it.
Homemade custard, that's my
It's
personal.
the best. For me, the chutney gives it another bit of twang.
It is during the food preparation that Vuyo discovers more about the person he's visiting, where they come from, their family, and what makes them proudly South African.
Stokvel is a very known phenomenon in South Africa where people club together.
That's my sister, and she's actually a very famous chef.
Again, food.
Each episode culminates with Vuyo tasting the recipe.
It lives up to the billing.
Be it sitting down to the home-cooked meal with the family, with friends, children from the community, the homeless, or just simply having a quick taste on his own. And all the while, Vuyo is documenting his journey. Vuyo's Truly South African Chow won't stop on television. Vuyo's Truly South African Chow will be transformed into a coffee table recipe book. The lives of ordinary people and their authentic South African cuisine will live beyond. Their stories and secret culinary skills will form a Rainbow Nation legacy of the finest recipes and the homegrown secrets that go into making it. Watch Vuyo growing from a big dreamer to a big doer.
Cool. So we've been shortlisted by the SABC. Hopefully, again, by mid-year this year, you'll start seeing some of this. If all goes well, please cross some fingers. And in ways of concluding, I just want to wrap up to what happened to our bricks and mortar store, the one I started telling you about in Bromfontein. So, when discovering that the turnover wasn't quite matching up, when our lease was coming to expiry in 2 years, we ran for 2 years. I had one of the toughest decisions to make. Do I renew my lease and continue? Because one of the toughest things as an entrepreneur, rule 1, you persevere. Rule 2, know when to call it quits. Toughest decision you'll ever have to make because it's not clear-cut often, right? So I went to, I got some advice from a very successful businessman, a very wealthy one for that matter. I said, listen, I have this challenge. What should I do? And he said, geez, like nonchalantly close the store. I'm like, dude, that's easy for you to say. You're rich. He goes to me, how do you think I got that way? He says, these things can't be personal. If it's not working, it's not working. Don't throw good money after bad money. But remember, this was my first store, right? I put blood, sweat, and tears and everything in there. Everything. And it's in the public I mean, did you see how many news articles we got? So everything was compounded. And the fear of failure, the family, your mother, everybody made the tough decision. We decided to close the store. I can tell you two things I learned from that. When we franchised our business, I never ever wanted franchisee to go through the feeling I felt when I closed those stores. Because that franchisee would have put all their money, it was usually pension money, to get in, and then this happened. Stores can be relocated because demographics change, but closing one down is one of the things that keeps me up at night. It's one of the things we vow not to do. Then about 6-8 months later, because we continued with the food trucks that kept us afloat and they were doing amazing stuff for us. 8 months later, we discovered one of the most awesome sites on Villadazzi Street, which we are currently putting up our restaurant. Vuyo 2.0 there. Stunning store. And it's got street cred. I mean, it's on Villadazzi Street. We're educating tourists. I wish more South Africans would come down. But my point there is, there it was 6 months before, the worst time of my life. 6-8 months later, it was probably the best decision I've ever made. I can tell you, at that time I wouldn't have said that, but I can tell you today I can say that. So it's very important in life to reframe failure because it happens. It's one of those things, right? So I'm very excited about both our food truck, the TV show, the new restaurant. I'm more excited about embarking on a journey of getting South Africans proud of our cuisine. And I'm hoping you as culinary and hospitality students, you'll be part of that journey. And in fact, we're speaking to SEH, some of you will be part of that journey. I'm quite excited about that. But it is a mission statement that we all have to take to heart. So in closing, there's 3 important things in a country. Your national flag, your national anthem. I'll touch the third one now. But our national flag is a cut, copy, paste job. Our national anthem is a cut, copy, paste job. Just watch the Springboks and see who sings loudest at which point. All right? Cuisine is the third and most important. It's the one thing that will bind us together because it's our culture, it's our cuisine, it defines everything. So food is not just something you eat. It's a definition of whom you are. I hope I've shared that lesson and you people take it to heart. No, not you people, it sounds wrong. Us people, we take it to heart and we go forth and conquer. Thank you very much.
The University of Johannesburg. Rethink, reinvent.